Welcome please to the JVG podcast, where these G's are gonna spread their seeds of knowledge about the league. It's flourishing with these. These funny catchers seem to be well read, esteemed and honest. Like the man himself, Jeff Van Gundy. They are high IQ, so cerebral and funny. So if you're on the bus, just border on the dunny. Listen to the
JVG NBA Tribute Show.
Wait, what is that? Is that just straight Vaso?
Ha 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 ha.
What?
You're setting me up. I heard you click. No.
The camera's on as well, man.
That's okay. How are our levels?
Yeah, they look fine.
Okay, cool. It's not straight Vaso, it's Nivea. Nivea Soft. I used to use the tube, which was 75 mils, and I was like, and then I knew that there was a tub as well, but
Right.
the tube was always so much cheaper.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized the tub is more than twice the size.
Right. So the tube was appropriately priced, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Per mil, probably the tub is more efficient.
Yeah.
Although the issue is it's quite, I don't know, man. It's quite non-degradable.
Can I have a look at it?
Yeah.
Refreshingly soft moisturizing cream.
Yeah.
It's quite threatening. It's quite a threatening thing to have moisturizer in. With jojoba oil and vitamin E.
Yeah.
Jojoba. No, jojoba. Fuck me. So, and you use it on your lips, you reckon?
Not usually.
Right.
But I've got these crusts on the side of my mouth that when I use lip balm, it's just like, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum. But lip balm obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't repair.
Yeah.
It just makes it drier. It just builds a not the opposite of a tolerance, a dependency.
Yeah.
You build a dependence on it.
Yeah, big farmer and all that.
Yeah, etc.
Big birdie.
This I've been using on my body, hands mainly, for God knows how long now, years. And it's definitely the best moisturizer I've ever used.
Oh, okay, so that's your go-to.
Oh yeah, so that's that. But the damage to my lips has been so bad that I've been thinking, what else can I do to deal with his pain? So I started going with the moisturizer, and I don't know, maybe for about an hour it feels good, but then it goes back to hurting. But gradually it gets better and better.
Right. You're not building a dependency where your mouth is feeling worse and worse every time.
And that's what I think with this moisturizer, you don't build a dependency.
Right.
And yeah, so with this current, I don't know when this lip thing started for me.
It's quite. I don't know what it could be from.
Neither. I don't know, like what it could be from.
No idea.
And yeah, when I've been using the lip moisturizer, because I don't use lip balm, it was actually lip moisturizer this whole time. But I've also noticed that hasn't been too helpful either.
Right.
And it's just been drying out my lips even quicker.
Fucking hell.
So,
You're having a rough run of it.
Yeah. I can open my mouth wide right now, but that's because I've got the moisturizer on. But if I just wake up first thing in the morning and I open my mouth really wide, which is what I do, because I'm like, does it still hurt? Oh, yep. And then I just I don't know how long I'm going to have this.
It's the worst place to have pain, right? In the corners there.
Yeah.
I get that. Like, I've gotten it when your whole lips dry out and that bit is also dried out, never just isolated to the corners.
Yeah.
But it's that thing where you're like, fuck, I think if I open my mouth too wide, like the sides of my face are going to split.
Yeah,
I'm going to bleed everywhere.
It does feel like that.
Yeah, kind of like Joker style.
That's we should have used that to start for a to create a visual. It is exactly where the Joker cuts himself to smile because he's so happy.
Love that movie. It's so positive.
Jokester.
Yeah, The Jokester by Chris Nolan's. Well, Lucas, where do we want to start today?
Well, usually have a lot of waffle.
Oh.
But I feel like I don't have any waffle this week.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like we just waffled.
We've already talked off mic about Monday Night Basketball. I feel like, again, we're going to be a bit ad nauseum if we talk about that.
Yeah, also, I feel like we talked off mic about... I reckon we were both doing basketball reference deep dives for the last 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I have actually a piece of trivia, potentially, regarding big science.
My favorite.
How many 30-point games did Jonas Valanciunas have last season?
1.
3.
Damn.
Do you want to... You were 2-1 in those games. Do you want to guess who the 3 teams were?
Was it twice against the Clippers?
No, it was once against.
It was once against the Clippers. Fuck, I actually have no idea.
Houston and Orlando. Damn. I feel like if you were to just take like an analytical guess,
yeah. And we lost one of those games.
Yeah, how do you remember that?
Well, you said 2-1.
Oh.
Who did we lose to? Houston?
Nah, Orlando.
Wow.
You blew out the Rockets.
Yeah, and he owned the Clippers.
Yeah.
Zubats looked like a 50-cent player that game.
Yeah. I remember that game so vividly.
Yeah.
I remember that's one of those games that'll just always feel like it happened last week.
Yeah.
It'll always stick around. Yeah. As it should.
Yeah. Now don't underestimate Jonas Valanciunas. He's known to attempt 8 3-pointers in a game on occasion. Just the other week, you say.
How many occasions?
Last season?
Yeah.
I'd say over 8. 8 or more twice.
Okay. Correct. Against who?
Clippers. I don't know the second one.
The Clippers and the Clippers.
It was the Clippers. He was the only center in the league who would give him who he felt confident shooting over.
Wow. He was, so 10 days earlier, before the 7 out of 8 shooting, was actually a 5 of 9 shooting performance against the Clippers.
Wow.
So he shot less threes in that second game.
Yeah. Well, I think he took and hit all 7 in the first half. And then took 1 and missed it in the second half. So it was just like, and he was doing stuff. He was doing stuff that he just never did in any game.
Yeah.
Like, setting a screen, popping out, then relocating, or taking a couple dribbles, stepping back. And then it was like, just do that twice a game, please. Like, I don't. The thing with Valanciunas next season, man, I don't need you to take 9 3-pointers, but I need you to not pump fake. when the nearest defender is 10 feet away from you and decide to go for the dribble handoff 8 times a game.
It's crazy how much the Pelicans season changed. Because at that point in the season, it was like, we do need just like 1 3 attempted per quarter.
Yeah.
And now it's like, just no, you stick to your role, finish around the ring. We got like 3 better scorers on the perimeter now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like, well, we really need the 7 of 8 game from Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah. But we are nowhere near the NBA season.
Nowhere near talking about Valanciunas probably ever again.
However, WNBA Awards, I think the first award is getting announced tomorrow.
Well, I think Coach of the Year was already announced. It was won by...
Well, I haven't seen this news. So...
Well, hey, why don't we start with that? Who's your prediction for Coach of the Year?
My prediction is Becky Hammond.
Right, yeah. Well, nah, she didn't win it.
So, that's a bit crazy then. I did not know that Coach of the Year was announced. Who won Coach of the Year?
It was the Atlanta Dream coach, who is Tanisha Wright.
I kind of understand it.
Yeah.
In terms of like outplaying expectations.
Yeah.
But 4 teams in the WNBA don't make the playoffs. And they were one of them.
They were one of them.
That's dumb.
Their expected finish was 12th and they finished 9th. So, yeah. Or did they even finish 10th? Did they finish below the Lynx?
Oh yeah, I think they finished. The Lynx and the bugger. The Lynx.
They finished They finished with an equal record to the Lynx.
Yeah, that's right. 14 and 22.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for saying Becky Hammond. She's certainly, but we were a very good team last year, and we have a very good roster, and she just maximized it, So I don't know if that's sort of a Coach of the Year caliber performance.
I think it is. I think it is. So I'm pretty upset that a team that was like well below 500 was awarded with Coach of the Year. But like, look at this whole team systematically as well as individually. 2 of her top 3 scorers jumped into the 40s when it comes to 3-point percentage in Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young. I've never seen a team that's so obviously empowered to shoot as well. In honestly any sport. When have you ever seen a team that's so like wanting of all their players to just... They look selfish when they shoot in the best possible way. It's like when they shoot, they owe it to the rest of the team to just block everything else out and attempt a shot. Like in no other sport have I ever seen a team of players like second guess themselves less.
Yeah.
There's so much assurance in every time they shoot the ball, and it's had such good effects on the whole team. And like, you guys lost Liz Cambage over the last off season, and then Asia had to just become a center this past season, and Dearica Hamby had a much bigger role, and you guys got better defensively. Asia just took, like thrived in that center role. Offensively, the system's threatening. It's inclusive. Everyone's involved in it. There's diverse tools. Going back to that, the fact that the system works as well as the players within the system can thrive individually. And then defensively, you guys there's just so few weaknesses, if any at all, in this team. And there were weaknesses last year. Even if there's not a difference in the win-loss record, the team is, this season's Aces would sweep last season's.
I think the empowerment to shoot, just the empowerment to play offense in a particular way was so valuable. Because I think it was something like last 3 seasons we've been bottom 3 in 3-point attempts, which, being coached by Bill Lambier, you won't be too surprised by that. But when you've got players like Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, even Chelsea Gray, who are okay, they're good shooters, you should be doing everything to maximize that. And I like what you said, that players look selfish. There's so many times when those 3 perimeter players in particular will get just they'll kind of pop behind a screen and just pull up, just one of those wild pull up threes off one dribble. Where it's fuck, you should be trying to get more out of the possession, there's 20 seconds left in the shot clock, and then they go in. And it's if you have a 45 and a 42% 3-point shooter on your team, those shots are going to be good shots. And it's just kind of telling players hey, it's okay, we can get offense other ways, so we can afford for you to miss some of those shots. That's sort of, it just instills this confidence that I think all of our perimeter players are so assured of their kind of one-on-one individual skills.
They're such weapons. Every single player is a weapon and something that you need to worry about. And you can't focus in on any player because everyone is so just ready to score and wanting to score. And then that sucks because you can't key in on Asia if she's hot, or Kelsey Plum. I don't know how many times she's gotten hot this season. And the moment you do key in on them, they understand that it'll be 4-on-3 if they give the ball up. Also, I know obviously playoffs don't come into regular season award voting, but game 2 against the Mercury, how many 3-point records did you guys break in that game?
So many.
You broke the records for threes in a quarter, being 8, threes in a half, being 11. Then you finished the game on 23 threes, which means you then broke the record for threes in a half twice in the same game.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can all, from that we can all deduce that you broke the record for threes in a game.
I think it was second most amount of points in a playoff game as well.
Wow.
I think it was 3 behind the Mercury's record of 120. So yeah. Well, our starters shot 75% or something. I think Kelsey Plum shot 60%, and that was that dragged everyone way down. That was just an unstoppable offensive game. Well, you'll be disappointed to hear that another WNBA coach won an award this season as well. And it wasn't Becky Hammond.
What was this award?
Chicago Sky's James Wade won the WNBA Executive of the Year award.
Executive?
Yeah, he's the general manager and head coach.
Damn. I feel like that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Some really good pieces of business by the Sky this season.
Yeah. I want to go to that box score between the Aces and the Mercury, because I think you guys started the game 10 of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, and then at the end of the first quarter, I think it was 34-30. You guys were up by 4.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed by the Mercury because that shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it, especially missing their entire big 3. That should be a loss that early in the game, and it ended up being a loss because the Aces kept on breaking WNBA records. But I think that the Mercury should be really happy with I know it's a 2-0 sweep, but there's so much to be happy about. And when, especially Diamond to Shields, can just be an ancillary piece next to the big three next season, then Sophie Cunningham as well. And then Shea Petty in the hope that she's back in time for next season. That it really starts to become more and more attractive, and like say that attracts one aging player. That's 7 really good players right there, and I'm sure. Oh, Kia Nurse wasn't even playing. I don't know if she missed the season or if she was, or when she got injured, or what the deal is.
What is it? Kayla Davis had like the quietest 23 points I've ever seen
in game 2.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Yeah. But like, then now we've already named 9 players that you'd be happy going into a playoff run with next season. I think there are still like heaps of good takeaways for the Mercury.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, DeShields was huge. Like she had that first game, she had 9 in the first quarter and just like looked unstoppable. And then in the second game, she had 15 in the first quarter. So like she was really, the entire Mercury squad was like keeping up with us, with Las Vegas, but she was really she was the only player really creating offense and like keeping them in it, like in an offensive sense. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think until the end of quarter 1, game 2, it felt like they were keeping up with us. You know, it's like, yeah, sure, you lose game 1 against the 1 seed as the 8 seed at home. You know, that's like a very fair result. How much did they lose by? It was like 11 points or something. Wasn't it?
In game 1?
Yeah.
Man,
no, it was 16 points.
Yeah, but
it didn't feel like that.
It was really close until there was a moment in the last quarter where it felt like the Aces were just waiting for someone to win them the game. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you. But Megan Gustafsson, I'm sure I butchered the cadence of that last name, but she plays for the Mercury. She probably didn't expect to get playoff minutes this season, but she committed a flagrant foul on Chelsea Gray, and then they had to get separated. Chelsea Gray then had hit both of the free throws. Gustafsson got subbed out in between those 2 makes, and then hit a 3 7 seconds after on the possession. Then the next play down hits a Jimbo, and that was kind of game over there. So yeah, I've written here, because I'm actually writing an article covering the first round of the WNBA playoffs. Megan Gustafsson, let a sleeping dog lay.
Chelsea Gray is just the most insane player. Like she's the only player in our starting lineup not to make the All-Star team this year, and she just routinely looks like our best player.
Yeah,
like for any 15-minute stretch of play. I just can't believe how she just pulls the biggest shots. She's one of those point guards that we've been talking about who she makes assists look so ridiculous and so important. Especially late in the game, like she just pulls out the most ridiculous passes in like the 3rd and 4th quarter routinely, and yeah, like I just don't. It's a bit unfair that we're blessed with her as like potentially. Well, I'd say she's definitely better than Diarca Hamby, but like she's our 4th best player essentially.
Yeah.
I
do feel like though she is very necessary in those situations at the end of the game. And this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Do you think that might be one of the few weaknesses that the Aces have, is in those moments where the game is in need of being put away? Did you feel like in game 1 that was highlighted? Did you feel like maybe it was to do with Asia Wilson having a bad game that it didn't really happen? Or is that like something that you guys need to worry about?
I don't know. I don't think it's something we need to worry about, because I think Kelsey Plum is just as capable of really putting a game away. And she, like, Chelsea Gray obviously was the standout in game 1, but in that second half as well, like, Kelsey was just getting to the rim, like under, around, past bigs, like at will for a good stretch there. But I do take your point, because I don't think it's like, we're not really the team where it's like, give the ball to Asia on the block 8 possessions in a row and she'll score 7 of them, when you really need her to. But I just think we have enough between like those 4 players really for someone to step up in the big moment. Because like Jackie Young can do it as well. She can just start hitting deep shots. So yeah, between Chelsea, Jackie, and Asia, like I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. Then my other question is, with those hot starts from Diamond to Shields, do you feel like that's a product of just her being great, or is that kind of a weakness in your D? Is once a player gets going, you kind of just let it happen?
I think it is. I think we're not very... I still think our D isn't as organized. Like, when we get out of sorts, it takes us a while to like regroup again.
Yeah.
So if someone's getting, shots off, we take longer than we should to make adjustments, or to sort of be like, all right, well, we weren't playing our game then. Let's change that on the next possession. And I think like Jackie Young and Asia Wilson, they can like paper that up sometimes, because Jackie Young's just like an excellent like point of attack, perimeter defender. And then like Asia can just clean up your mess as well. But you need to be better than that if you want to win a championship. Like you need to be like, nah, let's just like reset and actually organize so this player doesn't get open every possession. But then she had that hot start in game 1, and then we just started doubling her for a bit, and she fell off completely. Like in fact, it happened in both games. Like it was slow, but we just completely limited her for the next 3 quarters.
Becky Hammond even came out after the second game, or maybe at halftime, or potentially at quarter time. It was sometime between just that ridiculous 3-point shooting game by the Aces, and she was just so upset about defensively. So I think that speaks to what you just said as well.
Yeah, very Greg Popovich. Just broke a 3-point record, and you're upset about defense.
And she should have been Coach of the Year.
Damn. Well, when you put it like that. Well, should we go back to the awards, or should we keep on with the recap? What do you...
I like that. I like the way that happened. Because we've just kind of recapped one of the series, and now we can just jump back into the awards. Who won the Coach of the Year, by the way?
It was Tanisha Wright.
Tanisha Wright. I don't know. Feels like she kind of benefited from having Ryan Howard on her team.
There we go.
Now, Rookie of the Year is no discussion.
Yeah, no contest.
Ryan Howard from the Atlanta Dream. I feel like this is as unanimous as it gets.
Yeah.
I don't have her numbers up here, but All-Star in her rookie season, averaging 16 points per game. I think she would have been like top 10 in scoring or something.
Yeah.
And just immediately one of the best shows in basketball.
Yeah. All-star starter, immediately the focal point of like her team's offense, the focal point of her team. That she was really the only thing they had to play for this season. It's like, oh, okay, she's really good, so we better like, we better coach something up around her. We better put up some walls around her. I haven't even really thought of anyone who could come close to touching it.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. I don't even know what the discussion would be. I've got a couple of discussions for a couple of the other awards, but there's no one that's in her stratosphere. Like she is so far above and away that she just took this award. The Dreamer kind of already on the clock. Like, okay, cool. Let's try and build a winner around Ryan Howard halfway through her first season. I kind of half regrettingly didn't watch too many Atlanta Dream game, but also half just like there were better games to watch. But anytime I did watch one of their games, it was just like she's just a superstar. Like she also has that about her, just like if you knew nothing about her and it was the first time you watched a Dream game, you would know it was all about her.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's very impressive to come into the league like a very rated first overall pick, and then like just completely exceed expectations. Because I think the narrative for the Dream this season was like, all right, well, she'll need to develop a bit, so let's just tank and draft someone else good next year. And then it became apparent that was just not a possibility when you have a player like that on your team.
I think Rebecca Gardner was the only rookie that was kind of someone I had highlighted for this season from the Chicago Sky. And she averages basically half of what Ryan Howard averages across the board. So that's what we're talking about here.
And it's just impact, like the Chicago Sky, where she's like the seventh player. And whereas Ryan Howard's like the first, and then there's a huge gap between her and who's the other good player on the Dream? I can't even remember.
The other good one. Also, got to shout out Rebecca Gardner for being a 32-year-old rookie.
True. Oh my god, yeah, because she's in the her name was coming up in six Woman of the Year as well. I think.
Yeah.
Got 32.
I also don't remember who the second player was for the Dream.
Yeah. All right. Well, should we move on?
Yeah. Well, since we've mentioned it, DPOY. Or what would you like to jump to?
Since we've mentioned it. Well, should we do another pretty much unanimous one? Get out of the way. Six of the year.
Okay. Brianna Jones.
Yeah. Brianna Jones.
Yeah. Did you have anyone else for this?
I did.
I had Azurá Stevens.
That was it.
Again from the Sky, and I was actually trying to make the case for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, just like Brianna Jones, just I could. As much as I tried to make the case for Azurá Stevens, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted the Sky to have an award for this season. I guess they got Executive of the Year, but who gives a fuck about that award? Yeah, Brianna Jones just took this one as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Azurá Stevens, it's that good blueprint, you know, like it's a scoring big off the bench. But Brianna Jones is like that, and then just so much more, because there's so many times this season that the Sun, you know, went to her as an option. You know, it's like, okay, Jonquel Jones isn't working in this situation, so let's put Brianna Jones on. You can have them both on at the same time as well. So it was more than just like that pure scoring with the second unit. It was also like, okay, like how does this change our game when she's on the floor? Which I think like that's so much more valuable than most six players of the year are.
Yeah.
She was much more than just at 14 points a game.
Yeah.
And then she was also scoring 14 points a
game. Also on that 14 points a game, if you just sort just league leaders by points and then go down the list, there's one number that sticks out more than anything else. It's all the games started. Because everyone else is like in the 30s, high 20s. And then I think it was just 7 for Brianna Jones.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like this team had the Sun had quite an egalitarian approach to scoring this year. Which like we criticized the Jonquel Jones's drop to like just her individually, but if you look at their team, you know, more holistically, then the scoring load was more spread. And then yeah, same deal happens when you look at the scoring for the Sun. The only player that has less than 10 starts is Brianna Jones again.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that speaks to her just being such a focus of the team and just so dependable. And yeah, she took a great jump this season. And yeah, again, just took this award.
Yeah. Nice. Right.
However, on Jonquel Jones, I feel like in their playoff series against the Wings, through the first 2 games, I feel like after her regular season and last year's playoff run, I'm happy to say was disappointing by her. I feel like she's answered kind of the questions that were about her going into these playoffs. I think she had 20 points and 19 points or 19 points and 20 points, and she's just provided consistent scoring. We said last week that Tierra McCowan might win that matchup, and Jonquel Jones has killed her.
Yeah.
Like, completely won the matchup, completely owned her. And then also, that she's been showing that aggression to just, like, take it to her opponent or just, like, pull up for a 3, like, that might be, like, mildly contested or, like, you know, moderately contested. And yeah, I think she's started off the playoffs really well for her.
Yeah. I think that the first quarter of game 1, like McCowan was just going at her early, like on both ends. You know, like she was like getting the ball on her in the post and then going really hard at her on defense. And Jonquel was just cool, calm, collected, and just like started scoring buckets. I think she hit 2 threes very early in the game, and it was like, oh fuck, she can do anything.
Yeah.
Again, she can do anything she wants in this matchup, basically. And then in that second game where they were just so fucking disorganized.
Yeah.
Like, God, that was such a shit show for the Sun for about 3 quarters. She was actually consistently good, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So I finished my last point saying it's a good start for the playoffs for her. That is kind of a bad thing for the Sun more generally. Like, if you got your star playing like this, you got to find a way to leverage that for the rest of the team, because it looks like she can just give you 20 points in every game. And let's say you want to get to 90. for like to like keep a pretty safe buffer for a good team that's also, you know, good defensively. That's only 70 points for the rest of the team. And they had, 4 double-digit scorers, one player averaging 9, I'm pretty sure. Even in those numbers alone, I think you could get pretty close to 70.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think that the Sun, like, the last few seasons in the playoffs, they've kind of disappointed, and I think that Jonquel Jones starting so strong needs to be... Like, this is... Who knows how good an opportunity they're going to get in the future if they don't disband after this year. But, like, this is as good a chance as they're going to get.
Yeah, definitely. Well, should we talk about that series a little bit more? What do you think about Dallas from game 1 to game 2?
Well, I'll tell you what I think about Dallas from game 1 to game 2. I thought that obviously it was a shit show in game 1.
Yeah.
But at the end of game 1, they had such a good spirit and they just kept playing. They played until the end of the game. I don't know. I can't remember how much they lost by, but it was a full on hiding.
Yeah.
And it was like a no contest fight.
15 points. Oh, sorry, 25 points.
Yeah. And it was like, it felt like a no contest from the start of the second half.
Yeah.
But they kept this energy. And I thought that was really important because they also used that and bounced off that to start the second game, which they led at the first quarter 22 to 7, and then kind of maintained a pretty good cushion all game after that. And I think that all happened from the last quarter of game 1.
Yeah.
And I think that, it just like, it goes to show that, like, you know, body language and like the way you approach even the losses, it really matters. Like, I feel like you see the player I'm thinking of right now mainly is Bradley Beal. Like, just the amount of times he's just like shaking his head, he's like dropping his shoulders, he's pouting, he's complaining, he's like sulking. Like, and then, you know, in the long run, the rest of the team doesn't really perform too well. I feel like this is the complete inverse of that, where they were just like, we're still in this, we're in the playoffs, it's like, let's make the most of it. And then they did in the second game.
And it's very interesting you bring that up, because I thought both teams really, it was like a 5-quarter stretch of like mentality versus mentality.
Yeah.
From the end of game 1 to the end of game 2, where like, yeah, as you said, the Wings were like kind of full of energy, you know, kept on playing at the end of game 1. Game 2, the Sun looked like shit scared. Like, they were really embodying that adage of like, you know, it's dangerous to be 1-0 up.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, it's the most dangerous place to be in basketball, which is fucking bullshit. Like, but like, they look so unsure of themselves, and like, they just didn't look like they believed they could beat this team that they just absolutely hided 2 days earlier.
Kid.
And the Wings got so many 3-point shots up, and they just weren't contesting them on the perimeter. They were just like, you know, there'd be a disruption in the defense, and instead of like making an effort to recover, they just kind of stand there and like let the open shot go up. And it's that body language. It's like not closing out on it. You don't close out on a 3 because you think you're going to block it and send it, you know, fucking into the stratosphere like Herbert Jones does. But, you know, you do it because it keeps like the defensive intensity up, and it keeps the other team on their toes. And they just weren't doing that. They were just like, you just catch their like guards kind of standing in the paint while their player was putting up a shot. And then what else was I going to say? But then in that last quarter, Dallas just completely shat the bed. It was like they were up and they're like, oh, I can't believe that we're this up. And then the Sun were like, oh shit, like, you know, we can go home if we turn this game around and win, you know, like we will get a rest day and be, you know, we'll be in better shape for the next round. But yeah, I mean, it was just way too late by then. But like that last quarter push by them, that was 32 to 13 in the last quarter. So even more of a hiding than they copped in the first quarter. I think then the Sun are going to take that momentum into the next game and just absolutely trounce the Wings in game 3.
Yeah, there was a point in the last quarter where the Wings were up by 30. It would have been like roughly 80-ish to roughly 50-ish. And then they got complacent. And I thought that was strange because I feel like, especially if you don't have home court, like, and you're a 500 team and you're like going into the series as an underdog, and you've kind of earned that because you just aren't as good of a team. I think that's one thing you can't lose. You can never lose the energy battle. Like, you always have to look like you're trying harder. Because you can't rest on, like, a technical performance to win. That's what the top 4 seeds earned. The top 5 seeds this year earned that, like, we can kind of ease off this game right now and, like, just ride the momentum of the other team. You have to keep on bringing it. So I think that is the negative for me from the Wings, is like, you guys can't get complacent in this scenario. But they are going to Dallas.
Yeah, it's true. I like this game 3 setup where it's like, you know, obviously we'll get to the other series later, but like in both game 3s, the team that won game 2 is the team that won game 2 probably has the momentum.
Yeah.
You know, like, I would say despite losing, the Sun have the momentum in this game, given that they sort of had the Wings on their toes. And yeah, like, the Sky definitely have the momentum against New York. But fuck yeah, if you're going to a rowdy Barclays Center, a rowdy where do the Dallas Wings play? A rowdy College Park Center. Like, that kind of flips the dynamic on its head.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I also thought that there was stretches in this game by the Sun where it felt like they weren't present. Which I feel like we've talked about. But there was this really crucial part in the middle of the second quarter where the Wings were up 12, and then the Sun had a really good defensive possession. I think Jonquel Jones might have gotten a foul called on her early in the possession, and the ball got inbounded, and then the Wings were just passing it around the top and they couldn't get it anywhere. And then Marina Mabrey just threw a one-handed pass and it went out of bounds. And it wasn't even close to either of her teammates. Like, it just split the difference. But then the Sun came down and they had a layup. I can't remember who was in the key going to attempt it, but then they passed it to the other block to Jonquel Jones, who then fumbled the ball, turning into a Wings stop. And then the Wings went down and scored, turning it into a 14-point game. But if that becomes a 10-point game, then the Wings have to take it out of bounds and inbound the ball. And then they have to score on that possession. Because if they don't score on that possession, the crowd got into the game for the first time when Marina Mabrey threw the ball away. The crowd got into the game. You score that, it goes to 10 points. They come down, they have to score. Like, that's a clutch moment that you've now put on the Wings. Because if they miss that, you guys will probably get, like, I'm sure Jonquel Jones understands the moment enough to, like, get to the line at the very least. Yeah. And then it becomes an 8-point game. But then I feel like, there was a bit of a hectic patch in the middle of the second quarter. And at the end of it, the Wings were up 40-23. And it's like, there were just what ifs on every single possession. Like, what if they were just smarter defensively? What if they were more sure, like, and more connected defensively? What if they took a good shot that possession? And I reckon that was the point where the game was won and lost. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, should we turn back to the awards?
All right, let's do that.
We're just going all over the shop. DPOY.
DPOY, I've got Asia Wilson.
Damn. Well, I got your gal, Brianna Stewart.
Damn. Okay. I see. Well, I didn't think there was anyone else even close for DPOY. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, Asia's been awesome. She's been so good. Just like thrived in that center role. But Stewie is just, oh god, I just think she's like a transcendental defender. Like your defensive system, obviously, like her next to Magbagor, her next to Ezzy, was just a classic pairing. You know, like a classic shot blocker and then a great help defender like Stewie. But I think the entire system really lies on Stewie. And I think while Asia is obviously led the league in blocks, like excellent rim protector, excellent help defender, blah, 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 great rebounder. Stewie's just so much more disruptive for me. Like, the number of times she just fucking strips a guard, like, you know, as they're going past her and then, like, starts the fast break.
Yeah.
It's something that I don't think any other bigs really do in the league. And I think, when if you have to put it down, those two head to head, I think they're pretty much even. Maybe Asia has like a slight edge there, but Stewie's sort of versatility and like switchability is just so much more than Asia's. I think. I think that's where she wins out.
Okay, so that's interesting because I actually feel like Asia is kind of a defensive mismatch at every part of the floor, and you'd probably know better. But I feel like she can come out to the perimeter and then invite the matchup to a part of the court where she feels more comfortable. Like she might be able to force a guard into the key. What might look like the guard beating her is them going into her area, and then she just swats the shit out of it. I feel like in that first game, the game 1 against the Mercury, when she had like 8 points on 2 of 11 shooting, she had one of like the most aggressive blocks I've ever seen. And I think that aggression that she brings defensively is really important because I feel like the Aces are still, maybe not still figuring out their defensive stuff, because when you guys defend well, you're probably the best defensive team in the league. But there is a lot of inconsistency with it, but she's just so consistent and she's so steady. And I think you would notice, you don't notice when other players make mistakes defensively for the Aces because Asia just cleans it up. But you would notice if she was making a mistake defensively.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the system would just shit itself. Because she's so important at just to connecting everyone and then also kind of making everyone look like a better defender.
Yeah. I think she is a bit less consistent than you're saying. Maybe that's the cautious optimism in me. But I think if I have to criticize her, and I hate to do it, I think if she does anything bad, it's that like overcommitment, I think she probably gets lost on defense just slightly more than Stewie does. Like I never see Stewie in the wrong spot defensively. Like she's always making the right decision. I think Asia sometimes loses her player, particularly on the perimeter, just maybe through overcommitting or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, because I think that Noelle Quinn is a good coach. I don't think she's a great offensive coach, but I think she's a great defensive coach. But then our defensive pieces are pretty great.
Yeah, that's true.
Sue Bird is still a really good defender. She does die on screens from time to time, but since the playoffs have started, she's just like...
Her energy is crazy.
She's just flicked... She's just flicked the switch. Like, she's just turned on, pretty much. She was so obviously coasting throughout the regular season. Jewel Lloyd, not a great defender, but is like another energetic defender. Gabby Williams, amazing defender.
Great defender.
Seriously crazy defender. Ezzy, great defender. So I think that Stewie can kind of have more freedom defensively. And she can like go for the steal, and she can attack the passing lane because she knows that there's this system around her that's going to make up for that stuff.
But like I would say, right, Giannis Antetokounmpo, right?
Yeah.
So when he plays next to Drew Holiday, Dante DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, and Brooke Lopez, that's 4 like really good defenders. Yet that's what lets his defensive prowess shine.
Yeah.
Like when he has like full freedom to roam and just like be to do good defensive things. That's when he won DPOY.
Yeah.
I would almost make the Giannis comparison to Stewie. Where she's got so much freedom to act defensively, and that's why her skill set shines the most.
Right. Yeah. See, I'm seeing it as like the reliance on one player, being Asia Wilson in this case, and then to produce as well.
Yeah.
Like there's so much more. I mean, it's unquantifiable, but I feel like there's so much more pressure on Asia having to produce defensively than there is on Stewie.
Yeah, 100%. I'll take that point. Definitely. yeah. But yeah, I think Asia might sweep it. Like I think she'll win DPOY. But yeah, I really, especially. Well, maybe we can talk about this, especially watching these 2 games. Like Stewie is just, I just don't know how she does everything she does on offense and everything she does on defense.
It's been a dream.
38 minutes of action.
It's been a dream to watch. We need it. All right. Well, let's start with the Mystics because Elena Delle Donne has been she has dictated this series. She has been the biggest superstar when it comes to just like giving your best player the ball and then just watching them try and win you a game. She has been seriously, she has just fulfilled what it means to be a superstar. I don't know how we came out of game 1 with a win. I thought she was just going to keep winning that game for them because we were down like 3 with a minute or something to go. And then I actually don't know.
That ending was, I wanted to ask you, like, how did you win that game? I haven't pinpointed what actually won you that game because, like, you were playing well, but like I think it might have been a Mystics mistake that just gave you that little bit of an edge.
So I think that we start putting Tina Charles and Ezzy on Elena Deladon, and they stopped being team defenders and started just playing that assignment. And like she didn't start missing shots, but she stopped taking shots, and that was also very apparent in game 2. Because as soon as she got those bigger bodies on her, she just stopped looking to score. And then the Mystics weren't able to capitalize on kind of the Storm selling out their defensive system to just stopping Deladon. And she just straight away, as soon as the series started, she had like a contested fadeaway on Tina Charles, went in, and then it was like, okay, we got to go. Like both teams were like, all right, we got to go. Sue Bird, I think, had 7 points in the first maybe 5 minutes of game 1, and I think that has to serve as caution for Storm fans because I don't remember the last time she did that. Like she never focuses on her scoring. She's always focused on getting everyone else involved.
I want to say she averaged 8. It was 8 points a game, but yeah, meeting your points average in the first quarter on a team that's like full of offensive weapons. Yeah. You know, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I honestly, when Sue Bird tries to score, it's kind of a cause for concern.
However,
she scored 10 points in the first game, 18 in the second. So yeah, she's definitely, it's definitely not something I'm like scared about. I'm not like shit, stop scoring. It's just like, oh, this is legit. Like we don't have a single easy win for the whole playoffs, or a single easy matchup. But yeah, I think that Elena Deladon has just definitely been the best player in this series. And Stewie's been the best player on our team. And I just think we don't do a good job of capitalizing on when Stewie's going on a single player run. I feel like we just, I mean, this is, spoiler alert, but we are, as you are reliant on Asia defensively, we are reliant on Stewie offensively. Yeah. And I think that it's much easier to play off a player offensively than it is defensively. And I just think that we're not going to figure it out in round 2 of the playoffs. So I'm a bit concerned for our longer term prospects, but I think that it's been a fun series to watch. And Jewel Lloyd hasn't even started getting it going yet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're playing us in the next round, so that's cause for concern. But I'd be really happy with how everyone has played so far, because Gabby Williams was just absolutely unreal in both games. The system, so yeah, you started game 1, played most of both games, with Tina Charles or Ezzy on Deladon and Stewie as the roaming defender. But then the possessions in game 2 where Stewie was on Deladon, that was I think that was working really well, right? Because I think that's when she started, when EDD started missing shots. And then I think that's really when you got the momentum in game 2. And it was like, oh, okay, this is series over. Yeah. And then, Tina Charles is just, I can't believe that you picked her up. Yeah. Because she's just such a bucket getter. Yeah. And yeah, I don't really see what the issue is here. Even Stephanie Talbot has just been there every time you need her to hit an open 3. Ezzy has just been the little bit of extra rim protection whenever Tina Charles is sitting. Sue Bird's been unreal. Brianna Stewart fucking almost had an incredible triple-double in game 2. So I don't see the cause for concern yet. I think it's just going to be are you good enough? Rather than are we playing well enough? Yeah. And I actually kind of like the Aces matchup for Jewel Lloyd, because if she gets Jackie Young, as good as a defender as she is, Jewel Lloyd just needs to get a shot off. And Jackie Young would be 5, 6, or 7. They'd probably be the same height. Yeah. And yeah, I've seen Jewel Lloyd
like ISO bigs, and like the only thing she's looking at is, all right, let me calculate. If this person raises their arm and jumps up, will I be able to get it over it? Yes? Okay, I'll probably score that. And then that was also seen in our last game against you guys, where she had 38 points and 8 threes.
Yeah.
And then also we're getting, like, I hate to say it, playoff Sue Bird. Yeah. Which is, you know, might help with that 10-point deficit that we had at the end of our last game.
She's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, please retire. You've played enough basketball. Like, you deserve it. But, like, you could keep going.
She's very close to 42. Yeah, and she could keep going.
She just is darting around the court, throwing like the most accurate passes. Her shooting in game 2, 4 of 6 from 3. Like, oh my god, it's unreal. I actually think the Aces Storm matchup is very good.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, we don't. Kia Stokes isn't really good enough to defend Stewie or Tina Charles. So we're kind of going to have to take an L on one of those players. Yeah. And like taking an L on Brianna Stewart, who led the league in scoring this year. Yeah. And Tina Charles, who led the league in scoring last year. It's a big L to take. So like there's places we already know we're going to lose the game. So we need to find places where we can win the game. And it's like, that's really hard against like when you have a combination of like good, 2 energetic defenders like in your perimeter players. Yeah. Like I'm not unconcerned about this series.
Yeah, I think this will be the most fun series to watch. I think that maybe the Sky could put up a better matchup against the winner of the Aces of the Storm as the loser of that series could. But I don't think it'll be as exciting. Yeah. And I'm definitely picking the Sky to beat the winner of Sun Wings.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Without a doubt.
But, yeah, I think I really am excited to see the dynamic of Gabby Williams guarding Kelsey Plum. Because I like that has to be the matchup.
Yeah.
And, this isn't something I mentioned, but I think it was game 1. Mercury Aces was... Like, the Mercury started really well. And Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Asia were just working the refs. Like, first half, they were just like, every time, they would just say one thing. And they would just say one thing, and they were wearing down and down and down. And they got so many free throws out of it. But it was just like, it was so fun to watch the 2 games that were being played. Because the Mercury were like going this, like, all the way around. And the Aces were just going through like this. Yeah. And it was just like, it was fun to watch. Because, Gabby Williams really brings the game to you. I think... And then Kelsey Plum's a superstar at this point.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, we got 2 awards left. Yeah. And 1 series.
Cool. Should we order some dinner first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, cool.
You know, loves just talking about the league, certain things like that.
Next up, MVP.
Oh, the big one.
Or should we finish with MVP?
We should probably finish with MVP.
Good call. All right, most improved I've got here.
I've got... I still have 2 here.
Okay. Whom are they?
And maybe I watch our teams too much, but it's Jackie Young and Ezzy Magbagor.
All right, I have neither of those players.
Really?
So I was going to have Ezzy.
Yeah.
And then I looked at her stats post Tina Charles' arrival, and... Although I'm not one for the... I used to be one for like the looking at the numbers, seeing the difference. It does play a role, the numbers. I'm definitely one for the did they make a jump test. And Ezzy made the jump, but she jumped up from like 6 points to 9 by the end of the season. And it was like 6 to 12 at one stage. Like doubled in rebounds, nearly doubled in assists, skyrocketed in blocks. But I have Kelsey Plum.
Wow! Damn. Yeah.
There you go.
I like that pick. I think, if I'm still of the opinion if you're mentioned in the MVP discussion, you can't be in the MIP discussion. Okay. But I really like that pick because obviously she was coming off the bench last year and now she's potentially a top 5 player in the league.
Yeah.
I made your argument for you.
Yeah. What's your argument for you?
Well, Ezzy, obviously, same things you said. I think it is the eye test in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's looking at her and being like, that's a starting center for a really good team and like potentially one of the best defensive centers in the league as well. I think in the WNBA, like when you talk about most improved, like, it's so different to the narrative in the NBA because it's like, okay, you can go from like a nothing player to like a top 20 player in one season pretty easily. Whereas in the NBA, it's like, all right, well, you know, like Desmond Bane is going from player number 120 to player number 75.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whereas the WNBA, obviously, just less teams, less players.
Yeah.
You can make the jump a lot faster. But I genuinely think Ezzy has, like, when you look at her on the court and she looks so comfortable in her role. And like, I would love her. I would love her on my team. You know,
yeah. She would be great next to Asia.
Yeah, it would be an unreal combination. I think she's just the sort of center that any team would love to have.
Yeah.
If you don't have one of those sort of, you know, league dominant 6'6", 20-point a game players, then Ezi Magbukor is your next best choice in the 5.
Yeah, I think, she did make that jump and she looked great defensively this season. Like, there isn't a center I would prefer to have on my team than her, especially when, like, we've got so much scoring around the, like, in every other part of the court. And it's just so, I'm just happy with whatever's happening on the court when Ezi and Stewie are inside, Gabby Williams and Sue Bird are on the perimeter. I just have full faith that we're going to make the right play defensively and that if the other team scores, they had to earn it. And I think that my pick would have been Ezzy if Tina Charles never came.
Yeah. That changes things, I think.
Yeah. Because it ended up being like a third of her season.
Yeah.
Or potentially a quarter of her season, which was like, it's such a big chunk of her season. And she just got, her role just got minimized. And for good reason. But my pick is Kelsey Plum. And it's kind of a legacy pick because last season she improved on the season before that from 8.5 points to 15 points, and you know, other numbers remain kind of steady across the board in the same amount of minutes. And then from last season to this season, she jumped up from 15 points to 20 points, became a much better playmaker. Her efficiency is much better. Her per 36 is a little bit better, but when you get given that bigger opportunity and you start, I feel like your per 36 numbers should drop. Like as a sixth player, your role is to come into the game and maximize your minutes and bring energy and just go crazy, just chuck up shots. But she got more efficient and more productive when she moved into the starting lineup. And I think she made the jump from good role player to great sixth player to great starter to then superstar. And that starter to superstar happened in the last season. And the only player that was better than her, the only player that outscored her this season was Brianna Stewart.
Yeah.
Like, I think that she's made too many steps and jumped too many times to never have been recognized as the most improved. Yeah. Like, at some point along the way, she has made all of the improvements, so she needs to be recognized as the most improved.
Yeah, I like that argument. And I think, you know, being a legitimate pick for MVP at points in the season, when you're playing on the same team as a former MVP who's having an MVP caliber season, it's just like, you need to recognize that. Well, my other pick is Jackie Young, and it's almost purely because she went from shooting 25% from 3 to 43% from 3.
It's such a crazy jump, and then you also factor in that it's on 5.5 times as many threes per game.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just unbelievable, and you know, like her whole game has improved. Like she's gone from being like a good scorer to a great scorer. She's been gone from being a good defender to like an all defensive perimeter player, and just that jump in shooting. But it's just that jump in shooting that it feels almost unheard of.
Yeah, it has to be
to become that much better at a 3-point shooter. So I think if I'm splitting hairs, I'd probably go with Jackie just because of Ezzy, you know, being displaced in the starting lineup towards the end of the season. But I'm splitting hairs. Yeah. And I like the Kelsey Plum pick.
I think the Jackie Young, the improvement on 3-point shooting, like, credit to her, but then also serves as, like, credit to Becky Hammond.
Yeah, Hundy.
Who came into this team and inherited a 25% 3-point shooter who attempted 0.6 threes per game and was like, "That's my 3-point shooter."
Yeah.
And then she was her 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Like that also plays into why I think Becky Hammond should have been Cody Martin.
Yeah, I like that. Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like Asia and Jackie Young were famously in their college careers for their like LaMarcus Aldridge depth 2-pointers, you know, like the one step into the line 2-pointers. Bill Wnba, who might be the most accomplished, greatest coach in WNBA history, or one of anyway, was like, yeah, it's fine. You know, we'll just do that. Becky Hammond comes, is like, no, just take another fucking step out.
Yeah.
Like, you've got that in your range. And it's been true for both of them. Like, Asia isn't like, you know, she's not knocking them down like Stewie or Jonquel Jones, but she's become like a really good 3-point shooter this year as well.
Yeah. All right, well, shall we jump to the MVP?
Here we go.
I got Stewie.
I got Asia.
Look at where we ended up. So my argument for Asia for DPOY is probably going to be the same as my argument for Brianna Stewart for MVP, and I feel like maybe you're vice versa.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, like there's just so much reliance on her to produce, and she produces, and we don't do as good job as we should of playing off of her and working off of her and making the game easier for her. But when the game's hard for her, she's led the league in scoring again, and she looks like it's like she doesn't even break a sweat while she's doing it. So yeah, it's just we didn't have Jewel Lloyd and Sue Bird for one game. Stewie went 15 of 18 shooting that game, and she's missed a couple of games with each of those players. And I definitely criticize her aggression because I think at times she should just take on the game more. But as soon as Sue Bird's out of the game or not playing, then she makes up for that playmaking. As soon as Jewel Lloyd's not out of the game or she's not playing, she makes up for that scoring. So I think she realizes those moments and when to be a superstar. And even her playing passively for most of the season, she'd ended up outscoring everyone.
Yeah. That's a strong argument. Asia, I think this year has looked like the most dominant player in the league in terms of if you get her the ball on the block, like there's just nothing you can do. Like
that's true.
She just has such an unbeatable jump shot. She just has such a like desire to get to the rim, and I think she just I don't know many other basketball players that take on the game in the way that Asia Wilson does.
Yeah,
like offensively and defensively. She's just so every possession she's just so ready to play basketball. I'm gonna call it 2022 and 1.5 steals. That's 2 blocks. Sorry, 2010.
Yeah.
And two blocks, 1.5 steals for those playing along at home. 50% shooting. And yeah, like the focal point of our offense and our defense. I will concede, as I'm sure you'll say, is like we had much more prolific scorers on our team than the Storm did. But we were also the best team in the league. And I think, you know, even though we had a rough patch, I think looking back at this season, it wasn't actually that close that we were the best team in the league. And I think it really was, despite Kelsey Plum having a huge season, despite Jackie Young having this, big jump as well. I think it was Asia's just like the intensity she brings to the game is what made us that good. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, to go back to that offensive system for the Storm versus the Aces, the system for the Aces and like Hammond's system was just so incredible. And Asia could have a bad game in that system. Stewie was in an unthreatening system and she thrived and led everyone in scoring. And she couldn't have a bad game. And she didn't have a bad game. So I think that my narrative this season for MVP and DPOY is just how heavily relied upon are you? And then when you're relied upon, how much of the time are you like fulfilling that expectation?
Yeah.
And both of these players fulfilled that expectation, Stewie offensively and Asia defensively. And like they kind of had flawless seasons in those regards. But I also like the Asia for MVP argument and how much it takes into consideration her defensively.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think she was the best defender. As you know, I think she was the best defender this season. But I also think that plays into her MVP narrative, which is like that. I feel like that's rarely the case.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a classic case of like, okay, is it the standout best player on the best team, or is it the team? Is it the player on a team that kind of, I don't know. It's unfair to say the Storm underperformed as the 4 seed, but like, you're right. Like Stewie was playing outside of how well you guys were playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's less true in the playoffs. I think like you're looking like much more at her level in the playoffs, and she's probably gonna have. I don't feel like Stewie carried you in any of those games. I think she was the best player on the court for you in both games, but I don't think it was like, oh fuck, like we need Brianna Stewart to win us this game. But I think the argument you're making, is that without her there, without Asia Wilson there, the Aces are probably still a pretty good team. Without Brianna Stewart there, like, are you the 8th seed or something like that?
Yeah, it does feel like, to what you said about how we looked in the playoffs, it does feel like we kind of just treated the regular season as a trial to just figure out what would be the best approach to the playoffs. So even just like the freedom to do that is kind of feels good now that I'm thinking about it. Now, this last series, what is it? Is it Sky Liberty that we haven't talked about?
Yeah.
So
the fun one.
Yeah, definitely. Man.
Oh, God.
All right. The Marine Johannes pass.
That's the first point I had.
It has to be. That is one of the best passes I've ever seen in my life. And that was crazy. And the moment as well.
The context of it. The way it just tipped that game on its head.
Yeah.
13-0 run after that.
The last score for the goal. Like, I feel like the Sky were down 6 at the time. They were down 6, 3.5 minutes to go. It just looked like...
Wait, the Liberty were down 6.
The Liberty were down 6 at the time. It looked like the Sky were just steadily going to put this game away. Marine Johannes throws this ridiculous pass behind her head as she's getting double teamed, finds Natasha Howard on the roll who finishes. And then, as you said, turn the game on its head. Like, momentum completely flipped. And then the Sky, she just, with that pass, just drained the energy out of the Sky.
And it was so ballsy because the Sky they're the best team in the league at, like, you know, capitalizing on turnovers. Like they run such a good fast break offense, and any mistake that the Liberty made before that in the game, they punished, you know? And the Liberty did pretty good. Like, they didn't make a lot of mistakes in that game. But yeah, so the goal to throw a fucking wild no-look over the shoulder pass when, you know, you're in, like, the closing moments of a game against a team that, you know, if that pass doesn't find its intended target, they're going to get up the other end and score. Yeah. It was just... I think you'll think about that for the rest of your life if you ever read Johannes. Like.
Absolutely. That's going to be the cover of my article. Yeah. Oh, she's going to be on the cover of my article. Couldn't believe the Liberty finished that game. We're leading 1-0 to start the series, but then game 2. Now, full on, the Sky were just... I want to know what happened in between game 1 and game 2, like within their team, what the discussions they had.
I can take a gander. There was maybe a bit of ball busting, maybe a bit of all right, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. I think end of the first quarter it was 31-10 Chicago, and kind of game over.
Yeah, it was actually game over. Like they didn't get it. There was no moment where I was like, the Liberty might mount a comeback. In the rest of that game. Yeah. Like, spiritually, anyway. I mean, so, like I said, the Liberty, game 1, they had 9 turnovers to the Sky's 10, which I thought was, like, really, you know, it was a good sign. It was like they were just keeping up with the Sky, which is all you could really expect for them to do in this series. And then, in game 2, it was 19-10. And it was the same thing, whereas every one of those 19 turnovers, they had... 8 in the first quarter, and every single one of them ended in a bucket. Like,
every single one.
I'm being hyperbolic, but I reckon it was like 6 of 8. It would have been something like that. Yeah.
It was a completely different game. Chicago re-established why they are championship contenders. I was gonna kind of hold it. I was gonna hold their finish to game 1 against them, had they not come out and just completely demoralized the Liberty in game 2. I also think that New York's inexperience and lack of composure were like just rife throughout the second game.
Definitely.
Like there wasn't a single moment where it looked like they had guidance, and I think that they need that to be on the court. And Ionescu is too young to be that player yet. Johannes is same deal too. Oh, their whole you go down the list, their whole team is too young to be that player yet. But I think they do need like a backcourt player or a wing player who can kind of run the show a bit. That's not gonna, I don't know. I get sort of like an Andre Iguodala type. It's just not gonna do anything that really looks like nothing. Not gonna affect the stat sheet at all. But just gonna run the game for 2 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Liberty should be really happy with that game 1 performance. I don't think they should sort of think past that. You're not gonna have. No one expects you to have the composure to sort of stand up to a team like the Sky in that game 2. They were in absolute shambles in that first quarter, but nobody's sort of expecting any better of you than that. And I just think it's really just there is just too much talent on that Sky team for them to lose game 3. You know? In game 1, I was like, wow, Stephanie Dawson's doing fucking a bang up job of keeping up with Candace Parker. They're the opposite types of players. Candace Parker is so silky, so smooth, so mobile, and Stephanie Dawson is anything but that. Love her. She's one of my favorite role players. And it's enough for her to keep up with Candace Parker, but you're not going to win a series just keeping up with Candace Parker.
Yeah. I feel like game 3, the Liberty could stick with them for the first half, but I think that the Sky will probably break away in the second half. But I think that it could be a pretty entertaining game. I feel like it'll be much less of a no contest than game 2.
It should be, and there'll be a crowd for it. There'll be a rowdy New York crowd for it, and it's on 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Donning their seafoam green jerseys.
Damn, we love the seafoam.
Don the seafoam.
If you're listening to this right now, it's on in 3 hours now.
Well, you beauty.
All right. Well, I'm kind of out of steam.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we are well over the hour mark.
Yeah, we're at hour 13.
Oh, okay.
That's not bad.
There you go. I'll go up. That's the sound of the podcast. I gotta get the.
All right. See you next week.